This is the first sanctuary we joined since we came from. It's like home. It's a place that I can get some healing, because I had so much in my life, you know. I lost my son, the fire and everything, and when I come here, I feel like I'm close to God. I believe in God. I believe in God. And this, it's so peaceful, so soothing. I like to be here. Unfortunately, now I moved so far away, I don't come as often as I should. But for me, it's healing, it's soothing. It's a place that I can close my eyes and pray to God if I want to.
I always in awe of the feeling to be in a different place, in a holy place, in a wonderful place. And especially when the ark is opened and the Torah is taken out and lifted up, and we all join the rabbi and cantor in praising and thanking our Creator. That moment, when that is, I still get goosebumps just to think about it. When they take the Torah out, and I got the prayer book out, I have a prayer book at home, and I did read it again. Those particular words are absolutely unbelievable, indescribable. Emotionally, you forget about everything around you, outside the doors. You only think of the Creator.
It's not theater in the round, but it comes as close to it as you can in a synagogue, because the walls on the stained glass walls, nobody is far away from anyone else. And it gives a feeling of cohesion between the congregation and the bima, between the congregants among themselves. And the high ceiling inspires perhaps uplifting thoughts. I think it's a marvelous building, frankly, and I love it.
The temple to me is community. The temple to me is family. The holidays to me are very important because my family gets together. So that's kind of what Judaism is to me.
I love the architecture. I love the sanctuary, and I like the dome, and I like complaining about it's too hot in summer and too cold in winter, but I still love it.
I remember at that time for high holidays, we had 2 services in the sanctuary, and every seat was numbered. And if you go sit in the sanctuary today, you can see numbers on the back of the pews. And every member of the congregation was assigned a seat number.
I had learned to understand how beautiful this building is over time. When I first saw it, I realized the people here loved the structure, loved the building. And I think much of it, that was their crowning glory. And I had to look for a long time to see what it was that they liked about it so much, because I had seen sanctuaries that were more elaborate, had more wood in them, so the resonance was better. I loved the windows. I had to learn to like the candelabras until I realized, and the light fixtures, that it was all of a theme. I learned architecture, or the architecture of that time, around the 1913s, 1914s, by seeing this building and seeing other buildings of similar structure and similar brickwork outside. Over years, I learned, I worked with the Cameron Stanford House and other places, and I learned to appreciate all the artwork that's in here, in the structure, in the different decorations, and the repeat of the same theme. And I started to love it because I had learned something. You know, it's like a Bach cantata or something. The more you hear it, the better you like it, and you know what to anticipate.
I love having the organ. I know not everybody loves it. I guess that's what comes from growing up here, you know. But I miss those things when we don't have it, and I think they gave a definite, they filled up this place. This is not built for a guitar. I love guitar music, but this isn't built for that. This is built for a full organ.
Sinai always meant to me as a real sanctuary because it looked like a sanctuary. And it was, I guess, a more sacred space that I felt. And it was during the high holidays, as packed as we were with double sessions, it felt more real.
I would think that the founders of the synagogue and so forth, they had a vision and they said, we're going to grow. And so we're going to build. If you build something, you better think of the future, not just today. And I think they did a tremendous job. I mean, you would think they had foresight, and which sometimes we don't. I also remember, I think it was under Rabbi Brody, that there was a talk that we close up here and we move up to Skyline to buy, or we had property there. We had property. And so we moved up, and I think although I wasn't on the board or anything, although I was very active in sisterhood and so forth, but it was, and the board turned it down. And I think it was a good thing, because I like the urban, we need to have there's enough in Orindo and Walnut Creek and so forth. If you want to move to suburbia, you can.
What I would want to do is congratulate them for having had the foresight to build this sanctuary and this temple when they did. It was a great gift to us, and hopefully for many future generations.
I have an idea that what they wanted to build was somewhat of a monument to their own success in California and in America. And I don't think they probably quite had the chutzpah to think that this horde of immigrants who had very recently arrived in America would ultimately become Californians and Oaklanders and members of Temple Sinai. I don't think they probably foresaw that, but they were going to have a proper place for them if they did. And if not, as the saying on the front of the lintel reads, it would be a house of prayer for all people. In other words, it would be something they could be proud of for the non-Jewish community.
He was extremely modern in his approach. In fact, as I recall, there was a very prominent rabbi in Los Angeles at that big Wilshire temple who wanted to have services on Sunday, and so did Rabbi Rudolph Coffey, who wanted to have services on Sunday also. And he wore a stove hat and a swallowtail coat and gray striped pants on the pulpit. He never wore a gown. So he was an unusual guy.
I have to laugh because Rabbi Stern wore something that looked like a graduation cap. And I'm trying to remember if it had a tassel on it, but I can't remember that. And he always wore a black robe. A long black robe.
I had my first child and was living in my first house over in Lemert, I came down the street one day and this lady saw me whom I did not know, and we started talking, and her husband was a fireman. And she proceeded to tell me how Rabbi Stern was the chaplain of the fire department and what a wonderful guy he was, and so on. And so I thought, gee, I'm getting yichus from Rabbi Stern being the chaplain of the fire department 25 or 40 years ago, whatever it was. It was really a terrific feeling. Every Sunday he was at the entrance to the patio of the religious school and greeted every child by name.
I just remember him giving sermons in his black robes and his black hat during the high holidays. I don't think he wore white, but he may have. And they had a lot to do with what was going on in the world at the time in the 40s with the war and all.
And he also was not really a Zionist, but the state of Israel as becoming an entity was very important to Rabbi Stern, and it was part of his sermons during the high holidays and any other time, several other times. When Israel became a state in 1948, it became a central theme of his sermons.
I remember during the firestorm up on the Oakland hills, it was in October '91, we were living there and we lost our home. We barely made it out, we hardly made it out. We couldn't even see how to drive. It was so black, and the eucalyptus branches hitting the car. I don't know how we survived, but anyhow, we did.
Certainly, my family's and my experiences in the 1991 Oakland Berkeley fire, in which our home was destroyed, was a period where we had tremendous support from the temple and the congregation. We were welcomed to many events. Members of the congregation opened the doors of their homes to us for dinners and other events. The temple gave us books and artwork to replace what we had lost, and in general helped us to remain human during a very difficult time in our lives. That I think speaks so well of the congregation and its members.
Robert Chester called me and says, could you put a dinner together for Friday night services? So with a group of, we always were in the kitchen when the kitchen was working. We did do a good job, the sisterhood, 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. But so we did have a dinner, and everybody, and I remember Rene Mulhart got up and what he lost, and what else can I lose? What, coming out of a Holocaust and this and that. Oh. I mean, we cried, we heard all the stories, and almost at the end, one woman, I will never forget that as long as I live, one woman got up and said, yes, I lost everything, I'm with you, and we all lost terrible things, but it's all relatives. Do you remember your grandparents or your great-grandparents who came over here with a little satchel, didn't know the language, didn't know where to, had no job, didn't have no money, and they said, we have insurance, we have cars, we have friends, we have family, we're rich.
It feels familiar, it feels safe, it feels comfortable, and it really, it gives me a sense of family. I mean, the temple has been a huge part of my life. I went to the temple's religious school. I remember having Ray Stern as my 4th grade religious school teacher, which was really awesome. I was bar mitzvahed here, and I was a member of the At that time, the smallest confirmation class in 1975, there were only 8 of us. It was the temple's centennial year. My father, Roland, was president at that time from 75 to 77. As an adult, I had my wedding reception in Stern Hall. Lori and I were part of a group that was advocating the formation of a preschool at the temple because we felt it was very important that we needed that, of which my son Josh was in its inaugural class. I mean, my kids went through the preschool, they went through the religious school, they were bar and bat mitzvahed, they were confirmed, they graduated from midrashah. I mean, the temple really feels like an extension of our home.